So I've tried to film several videos at this point, and I've set my bedroom up into like a studio, and I was using my DSLR, and I had to do so many takes of each video, and then I ended up deleting them all because it felt so fake and so staged. I'm really trying to make myself look presentable, and it's just not me. So here I am, warts and all. I wanted to do an update video. The last video I made, I was talking about how I was feeling like I was getting cold feet after my husband and I decided to start our TTC journey for baby number 2 early by trying this month instead of December or January. I've had a lot of time to think it over and feel a lot more comfortable and confident in our situation and our plan, so we are 100% on board for it. Today is cycle day 8, so I wanted to go over quickly all the supplements and vitamins that I'm taking and things that I'm doing this cycle because I want to be able to look back and reflect on what I did in case it ends up taking us several months to conceive. I thought it would be useful to compare and contrast what I do each cycle to figure out what actually works for my body. I already did a video about what we're doing differently this time versus what we did when we conceived our daughter, which for the record was basically nothing. I was just using a period tracker app and was taking like prenatals. But I have sort of modified and evolved my regimen already like 100 million times since I filmed that video. So I just want to lay it all out there and then start my OPK line progression. So here we go. So I want to start off by stating the obvious that I'm not like sponsored or supported by any brand or product. What I'm about to share right now, I chose strictly based off of my own research and reading peer reviews or other recommendations. So the first product I'm taking are these raw prenatals by Garden of Life. I have been taking them since I was trying to conceive my daughter back in October of 2015, and I haven't stopped taking them. I love them. They make me feel so good, and my immune system is much better since I've taken them, so I just haven't stopped. They also never gave me nausea as opposed to other vitamins, which do sometimes upset my stomach. I also like that they are non-GMO. I believe they're actually vegan. It says vegetarian, but I could be wrong. But also they contain a lot of raw food ingredients. So if you look here, you've got the general nutrition label here, but over here it shows you just how many organic and raw food blends contribute to these capsules. And it also contains sort of like good enzymes and probiotics. So I really like the quality of this vitamin. Also, I did a lot of research when I was first looking into prenatals back in 2015, and this thing between folic acid and folate came up in my research. And I learned that folic acid is the man-made synthetic version of vitamin B12. I meant vitamin B9. And folate is the naturally occurring version of the vitamin that comes in plants. So obviously you're going to want to stick with things that are natural versus man-made. It's just, in my opinion, better for the body. But something to consider, people just chug on folic acid. I don't think many people realize that if you carry the MTHFR gene mutation, your body is going to mess up the metabolism of folic acid. So in my opinion, spend more money and get the better prenatal that contains folate instead of folic acid because, I'm not a doctor, but I just truly believe it's better for you. The next product I have been taking are these. I've also been taking these since October 2015 when we were trying to conceive our daughter. But one of the reasons, our first child I should say, but one of the reasons I also took this product specifically is because I have some autoimmune issues that cause a lot of dryness, particularly on my eyes. And my eye doctor specifically recommended taking this brand, Nordic Naturals. It's more on the expensive side, but again, it's non-GMO verified. It's got a lot of really good peer reviews and scientific reviews on it. And apparently the purity is such that it just increases the potency of, or I guess effectiveness of these omega vitamins, which is why my eye doctor recommended taking them. So these are the stats of this particular supplement, and again, I love it. I've been taking these for over 2 years now, and I have not had any reoccurrence of the dryness in my eyes. So I don't know, I'm a big fan of these. Next, I take these probiotics from Renew Life. I have a poor immune system, and I have dealt with candida issues in my past. So I've been taking this particular probiotic for years now, maybe 4 or 5 years. And when I selected my probiotic, I again did a lot of research. And a couple things to keep in mind when you're getting a probiotic is that you want them to be refrigerated, because these are a live substance. These are live bacteria. So, I mean, the shelf stability of probiotics is still pretty good. I think it's like you lose 2% of the potency for each month that a probiotic sits on a shelf. But, you know, you just want to make sure you maintain as much of the potency as possible. So the refrigerated kinds, in my opinion, are best. Also, you want to be able to buy a probiotic that is put in capsules that are specifically meant to withstand the upper GI tract. So if you get cheaper probiotics, they're usually just in like vegetable capsules that dissolve in your upper stomach, and a lot of the probiotic potency is killed by the stomach acid in your upper GI. So you want to make sure when you select a probiotic to pick one where the capsules are designed to deliver as much of the probiotic to your lower GI and your gut as possible. So another thing I love about this particular extra care formula is that it's got a high culture count, 50 billion, and also it has diverse probiotic strains. So a lot of probiotics out there, you may only get 1 or 2 strains. In my opinion, quantity is an issue with probiotics. So I'm not going to pretend like I've researched what every single one of these strains do, but I do like that there is a variety of strains. And also I can say that there's research out there that says that this probiotic, Lactobacillus rhamnosus, and also the Lactobacillus reuteri, have been shown to keep group B strep at bay in women. So they recommend taking the rhamnosus and the reuteri, which is not in this particular probiotic, throughout your pregnancy, because it's been shown to keep women from becoming group B strep positive, which would prevent you from needing an IV drip of antibiotics the day you give birth. So I take these every day, just 1 capsule a day, and I love them. Next, I take a pretty potent vitamin D, and in several of the other supplements, including my prenatal that I take, I'm also getting a lot of vitamin D, but I take an additional one just in case, because I live in the North Pole, you guys, and it is winter right now. It is the middle of November, and the sun rises at like 8 o'clock in the morning and sets before it's even 4 p.m. So, and it's super cold out. We're already getting snow. So I am not getting like barely any sun exposure at all. And I come from Southern California, where I was a beach volleyball player. So I went from spending like 24/7 in the sun 365 days a year to like living in Santa's workshop. So I rely on vitamin D just for my own mood health, but vitamin D has been proven to be a really good fertility vitamin to bear in mind and have in your regimen as well. So I take these. They got really good reviews on Amazon. That's the only reason I bought this product, or this brand, I should say. Garlic. I am a major fan of garlic. Online, it says that if you take a raw clove of garlic, I think every day leading up to the day you ovulate, it's supposed to have a really good positive effect on your ability to conceive. However, when I eat raw garlic, it really messes up my stomach. I get so nauseous, and it's very painful to me. So I have always stuck with just concentrated garlic tablets. And I've been taking these again for years just for the health benefits of garlic in general. I feel like it's a really good immunity booster. And whenever I do get sick, when I take garlic supplements, it seriously cuts the duration of my colds or viruses in half. So I've been taking these daily for a really long time just for the immunity boost, but again, it has really good fertility benefits as well. So look into it and consider taking it. I don't think there's really any risk to taking garlic. It really only is just a super powerful positive supplement to have in your diet. Okay, so now we're getting into the realm of things that you really want to research before you take and understand the quantity that you take and the timing that you take it. I have been taking red raspberry leaf for a while now because I find that it really helps with my PMDD issues. Red raspberry leaf has been shown to help with PMS symptoms, and also it helps regulate your cycle and shorten your actual bleeding. I never had cycle irregularity, nor have I had long periods. I usually only bleed 3 days, sometimes 2, sometimes I get an extra day of spotting and it's 4. But these definitely have a good impact on my PMS and PMDD symptoms. However, in terms of fertility, red raspberry leaf in supplement or also in tea is extremely powerful because it is an astringent. So what it does is it tones your uterus. It makes it a much more friendly environment for a embryo to implant in. And so that's why they recommend it when you are trying to conceive. However, you're not supposed to take this after you ovulate because it does tone the uterus. It can cause uterine contractions. So you just take this, or you drink the tea up until the day that you ovulate, and then you stop for the rest of your cycle. The dosage on this one is 2 capsules, and that would be 900 milligrams of red raspberry leaf. I actually have not researched the fertility dosage of this. I have just simply only taken half a dose. I only take 1 capsule. And the reason I did that was because I read online that when you start taking red raspberry leaf, it can make your first cycle a little wonky. And so I didn't want to completely throw my body upside down, especially taking all these other supplements I'm taking. And I will say last month was the first month that I took this consistently, and my cycle, which is religiously 25 days, was 29 days long. And I also ovulated on cycle day 12 as opposed to cycle day 10. So I don't know if this plays into it, but just to bear in mind. So before you take anything, do your research, but I'm very comfortable with this product. I like what it does for my moods, and I do believe in its fertility powers. So that's why I take this. Holy moly, where do I even start with evening primrose oil? Okay, so first of all, ever since I had my daughter 14 months ago, I have produced 0 visible cervical mucus at all. Now, I know maybe there's a little bit there on my cervix, but I have not seen anything. Whereas before, I used to get like the normal amounts of the different types of cervical fluid throughout my cycle. Now, I've also been taking a half dose of Benadryl on most days of the week since my daughter was born to help me with sleep. I have insomnia problems, and they've been really bad in these postpartum months. I learned online, however, that you do not want to be taking antihistamines when you're trying to conceive because they can dry out your body and the fluids you produce. So like one of the number one things they say if you have cervical mucus issues is to not take antihistamines. So that was a huge change I made this cycle that I want to document. I stopped taking Benadryl at all. But I also simultaneously started taking evening primrose oil, which is really high in this GLA omega-6. And the benefit to this is that it increases your fertile cervical mucus. And I just want to say I am on cycle day 8, and I have been seeing such an unbelievable increase in the normal cervical fluids that should be seen throughout a woman's cycle. So I don't know if that's because I've quit Benadryl or if it's because I've started taking evening primrose oil or a combination of the two, but I seriously recommend it to anyone that is trying to conceive, that wants to boost those cervical fluid, the fertile cervical fluids. Now, online they say that a good dose for women trying to conceive is anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 milligrams. So I decided, since these are 1,000 milligram pills, that and it says here to take 1 to 3 capsules daily. I'm taking 2. So I'm taking a 2,000 milligram dose. And again, same with the red raspberry leaf. In terms of trying to conceive, they recommend that you only take these up until the day that you ovulate, and then to stop for the rest of your cycle. So that's what I'm doing with this EPO. I'm just taking it up until the day I ovulate, and then I'm going to quit it. So CoQ10, I've done a lot of research on this. There's something very important to know about CoQ10, Coenzyme Q10. First of all, it's a super fertility booster for both men and women. For women, it is a powerful antioxidant and it improves egg quality. And given the fact that I'm 34 years old, the thought is not lost on me that my eggs are old. So I want to boost them as much as possible. But this has also been proven to improve a man's sperm quality. But something very important to know about CoQ10. Now, remember, I'm buying these in Sweden, so this is all in Swedish. But you can see here that the ingredient for the CoQ10 is here ubiquinone, and that is ubiquinone in English. Almost all CoQ10 supplements on the shelf, if they just say coenzyme Q10, they are the ubiquinone version of this enzyme. Especially the cheaper CoQ10 products are almost always ubiquinone. So it's important to know, though, that that is the version of this enzyme that still needs to be converted in your body before it can be used by your cells. So when you take a CoQ10 enzyme supplement that's ubiquinone, you are not getting the most potent and bioavailable version of this supplement that's available. What you really want to get is ubiquinol. And I actually thought that that's what I was getting. I didn't know that when I purchased these and I saw ubiquinone, I didn't know about the ubiquinone. I thought when I saw this that was ubiquinol. So I'm like, oh, awesome, I'm getting a good supplement. But I didn't. You want to specifically buy ubiquinol because that is the already synthesized version of this enzyme. So when you take the pill, it is immediately absorbed into your cells and put to work. And online it says that ubiquinol is up to 8 times more powerful than ubiquinone. So if you really want to get the most powerful and effective dose of this as possible, go with ubiquinol instead of coenzyme Q10 in the ubiquinone format. I am taking a 120 milligram dose, and I'm taking 1 of these per day up until the day I ovulate. True story, I was fact checking a couple things I said in this video before I posted it, and I learned 2 very, very, very important things I wanted to share. First of all, I thought I had read somewhere that you're not supposed to take coenzyme Q10 or ubiquinol after you ovulate because it could cause uterine contractions. I did a lot of reading right now while I was editing this film, and I did not see that cited anywhere. In fact, everything said the opposite, that you can take CoQ10 or ubiquinol. I'm watching my daughter cruise up and down our hallway with a bunch of bottles. Anyway, you can take it not only every day of your cycle, but even into pregnancy. So, and also I learned that I'm taking a much too small dose. I'm only taking 120 milligrams, but it seems that in terms of fertility and egg health, you should be taking anywhere from 600 to 800 milligrams a day. So I'm definitely going to double my daily dose and take it every single day of my cycle, thanks to filming this video and fact checking myself. So there you go. Okay, so aspirin, in my opinion, is the only controversial thing I'm taking. And to be honest, it is really unnecessary, I think, for me, given my history. I've done a lot of research on taking aspirin during you're trying to conceive and even early months of pregnancy. A lot of women have sworn by baby aspirin as being the component that helped them to conceive and not miscarry. So I read a ton of clinical studies on this. The findings are actually not super convincing, but they are accepted enough by fertility specialists to make it something worth looking into given your history. The thing about aspirin, it is said to increase blood flow to the uterus. And that is the main reason I'm taking this, because I have what I believe to be very thin uterine lining, because I do only bleed for 2 to 3 days and my flow is light at best. I don't even fill a single light pad in a whole day. So I thought, given my age and circumstances, that it might help to take a baby dose. Don't freak out. This says 500 milligrams. I do not take 500 milligrams. Each one of these tablets I cut actually into 8 pieces, which is below the baby aspirin dosage. In the UK, the recommended dose is 75 milligrams, and in the US, the recommended dosage is 81 milligrams. I'm taking less than both of those. I just thought it would be a small, maybe a little boost to my body, given my circumstances. However, do your research on this, because really the only benefit of aspirin to women trying to conceive is for those women who have miscarried frequently, particularly if you've had very early miscarriages, which are also known as chemical pregnancies. It's been shown that women who have frequent miscarriages or chemical pregnancies carry a antibody that affects coagulation, which can make miscarriage more probable. So that's why a lot of women who have had issues in the past, or women that are going to fertility specialists, are recommended to take aspirin, baby doses of aspirin in their regimen, because of its clinical findings that it can help the uterus really retain that embryo once it's embedded. I probably am not going to take this after this cycle. I've committed to it this time around, but after I've done a lot of research, I don't think it's necessary for me. So I may put this on hold and wait a few months and just see what happens in my own natural course of trying to conceive. I feel like I probably should have made this the first thing that I've shown. I think that green smoothies are so useful, just in daily life, but also in trying to conceive. Smoothies in general, not just juice, because you want to retain all the fiber that comes in the material that goes into a smoothie. When you juice, you only get the liquid. So yeah, you get the benefits a lot of the vitamins and whatnot, but you don't get the fiber, and you do lose a lot of the vitamins and minerals when you only juice and don't make smoothies. I make this smoothie in my Vitamix every day, and I also post all of my different smoothie recipes on my Instagram, which is at the All Natural Athlete. It's a public page. You don't need to like it. But if you're interested in recipes, you can go ahead and check it out, because I do post everything there. However, I made this fertility smoothie. It doesn't include all the bits and bobs that you really could put into a fertility drink, but it includes everything that I think is useful and that I think makes a really tasty smoothie. I make a batch of these every week. They last me 6 to 7 days, because I include lemon juice to use as a natural preservative. And in this smoothie, I have a ton of spinach, broccoli, peas, and then I put in green grapes, bananas, and frozen pineapple, some lemon juice that I freshly squeeze here at home, and then these little brown bits are unsweetened, unflavored hemp protein powder. So this is a vegan drink. Oh, and then I also add in water. It's a vegan drink. It's very high, super high in protein, fiber, and also naturally occurring folate. Folate is in high quantities in dark leafy greens, broccoli, lentils and peas, that kind of thing. So everything that's in this drink is super high in folate. So what I do is I stagger taking my prenatals. I take a prenatal, I'm going to show you actually how I take my vitamins in a minute, but I take them 2 times a day. I take half of my supplement mix in the morning and half at night. And I do that because if you take everything all at once, your body is actually just going to process and pee out what your body doesn't immediately need in that moment. You want to stagger your vitamins because then you make things bioavailable at a time when your body might need them. Otherwise, you're just going to pee out all the excess. Your body doesn't store vitamins and minerals like it does, say, fat, if you consume an excess of it. So I take part of my vitamins in the morning, I take part of them the first thing before I go to bed, and then I have my smoothie in the middle of the day so that I'm constantly dripping naturally occurring vitamins and minerals like folate into my body all throughout the day. So this recipe that I concocted was mostly just to be able to get dark leafy greens, cruciferous greens, and also protein-rich lentils like peas. And of course, peas are a legume, not a lentil, sorry. Into my diet, but it also tastes good by using bananas and grapes. Those are sort of my go-to. Now, the one ingredient that I do also want to talk about is pineapple. You will read that pineapple, and particularly pineapple core, are very potent natural fertility boosters. And I think they say that you should only consume them in certain quantities from 1 to 5 days post-ovulation. I only include small quantities of fresh pineapple and not the pineapple core in my smoothies, so I feel comfortable taking these all day, every day of my cycle. But something to look into, especially if you don't want to take aspirin, but you do want to have a natural booster in terms of boosting sort of blood flow to your uterus, or assisting with those benefits against miscarriage. Pineapple is high in an enzyme called bromelain, which has almost the same effect on the body as aspirin does. So you can read into it more on your own, and also you can look into pomegranate juice, which is another very powerful fertility booster, natural fertility booster that tastes delicious in smoothies. The only reason I don't include it is because I can't find pineapple juice here in Sweden. I can't find pomegranate juice here in Sweden. Probably if I did, I'd have to import it and it would cost a fortune. I can buy fresh pomegranates, but they are a bitch to de-seed, as you know, and I just can't commit to that. And also they're very expensive here because everything is imported from Turkey, and I don't think that pomegranates are currently in season. So that's why I don't include them, but if I had ready access to them like I did back when I was living in California, I would also be including them in my smoothie. This is how I organize all of the supplements that I take throughout my cycle. You're going to have to forgive me that these labels are in Swedish, but I just bought this at my local pharmacy. You can probably order these on Amazon for dirt cheap. But I like these because they're deep, and I have obviously a shit ton of supplements that I take. The way that this pill organizer is set up is for people who need to take medication 4 times a day, but I don't. I only take my supplements twice a day. So I consider, this as one day, this as another day, then these 2 windows as another day, these 2. So every 2 windows is 1 day. And I've written the cycle number of each window onto each window. So for instance, this is cycle day 1, this is cycle day 1 as well. So 1 a.m., 1 p.m., cycle day 2 a.m., cycle day 2 p.m., and so on. And then I repeat it again, cycle day 15 a.m., cycle day 15 p.m., cycle day 16 a.m., cycle day 16 p.m., and so forth. And what that does for me is I'm able to have a full 28-day cycle schedule here. I only reload it 2 times a month, or 2 times a cycle, I should say. And having these daily numbers makes it easy for me to remember that when I get to around cycle day 10, I know to not include my red raspberry leaf, my evening primrose oil, and my CoQ10. So right around when I get to this time is when I stop including those particular supplements in my windows. And then again, I do the same when I get to reloading these the second time in my cycle. I know to just not include those supplements that I don't want to have on the second half of my cycle. So I highly recommend something like this because it's easy, given that you only have to reload it twice, and therefore you make sure that you stay on top of what supplements you want to be taking depending on the day it is in your cycle. Another super important thing that I'm doing this cycle is I'm drinking 2.5 liters of water every day, which I believe is the equivalent of 10.5 cups. I love how I have been feeling since I've been drinking this much water. I used to barely even get like 2 or 3 cups of pure water into my body every day. I used to get all of my fluids from things like milk, but also tea, coffee, and that kind of thing. But really, honestly, I am not a thirsty person. So I just generally would not drink much at all. So I have this jug. I fill it literally all the way to the top. And I have this giant straw. I mean, look at the size of this straw. It's like this size. It's bigger than my femur. Anyway, I just sort of carry this thing around with me. And anytime I'm in the kitchen or anytime I see it, I just say to myself, okay, I'm going to take 10 swigs right now. And that's what I do. I take 10 giant drinks, and by the end of the day, I'm usually done. Yes, I'm peeing all day long, but hydration is so important for life in general, but also in terms of fertility, because it keeps your blood flowing, you're not dehydrated, it makes sure you get good oxygen and nutrients to your eggs, etc. So definitely, and it also helps with cervical fluids, I've heard. So this is how much I drink every day. I love it. And yes, this is actually what my house looks like right now. What do you want, Macy? What? You want the clock? What do you want? And there are also a couple other things that I've heard mentioned in fertility circles, which I am not going to try yet. I want to kind of stick with the things that I've picked out now and not mess around with my regimen too much unless, we get to the point where we've been trying for maybe 6 months and nothing has worked. But some of those things that I've heard talked about are like Vitex and something about wild yam jam or something like that. Guaifenesin. I'm sure I butchered the pronunciation of that, but it's the main ingredient in cough medications like Mucinex, because they say it helps increase your cervical mucus by loosening all of that mucus in the body and just helping to expel it. Also, maca root. That was the one I forgot to mention in my filming. And that one I'm actually really interested in starting just for my own personal use, because I've done a little reading on it and it sounds pretty legit, like super healthy for you. So I may order some of that and put it into my smoothies starting next cycle, just because it sounds really, really healthy. So that's another one that's on my radar. But I don't want to take anything else than what I am currently taking for now. So we will look into other options as the months roll on. If they roll on, hopefully they don't. But anyway. So that is my first journal for this first cycle of us trying to conceive. And that's the schedule of the things that I am taking. So I had a plan of doing the whole sperm meets egg method of conceiving this month, which is you have sex every other day starting the first day that your period ends. And then once you get a positive OPK, you have sex for three consecutive days which should be like your most fertile window. And then you take 1 day off, and then you have sex one more time. And then it doesn't matter what else you do for the rest of the month. That was my plan for this first cycle of us trying. However, my husband has a really bad back, and his back unfortunately has been spasming on him for the past several weeks. So we decided that we were not going to stress it this month, and I guess our plan is to really only have sex starting the day I get a positive OPK, and we're just going to have sex 3 days in a row, and maybe 4. And I'm also hoping maybe to get him to commit to 1 day before I get a positive OPK. So because of that, I was planning on only doing OPKs starting my cycle day 9. But I feel like I kind of need to have my finger on the pulse of my body, especially since I had sort of an off cycle last month. So today's cycle day 8, and I'm gonna take my first OPK today. And then I will take them successively until I get, my first 1 or 2 positives, and then I'll stop. And I'll do like a little mini line progression video on that as well. And then other than that, we bought pre-seed, and I'm definitely going to use it. Like I said, I sort of have cervical mucus issues, even though I'm getting a good and decent amount of it now that I've stopped taking antihistamines and have started taking the evening primrose oil. I mean, what's the harm in, adding a little bit more in there? And I've read on these trying to conceive groups on Facebook that you don't need to use the full amount that the box recommends. They say on these forums that it's actually like too slippery. So they say to only use half of the amount that's recommended. So that's what we'll do this month. And yeah, that's the plan. And then I will finally get to do my first, live pregnancy testings. This is all very exciting to me. And I'm so, I'm just so kind of in shock that we're finally at this point of actually trying. So, yeah. That is my plan. I would love for you guys to join me on my journey if you would like. And also, if you are actively trying to conceive, please comment on this video and just let me know or whatever, because I would love to follow your journey also. I don't want to be alone in this, and I really love that sense of community that's out there in YouTube. And I love, celebrating other people's successes and learning from what other people are doing, and just, sharing in that general, like, really exciting time in our lives to be, reproductively healthy and actually doing these crazy things in life. So please let me know if you would like me to join you along in your journey. Just comment below, and I'll go ahead and subscribe. So thank you so much for watching, and see you all soon. Bye.